The decarbonization agenda has to matter for transport because a third of the carbon emissions that we see globally come from the transport industry. Whether we look at the city level, the country level, the global level, you see a similar picture everywhere. So we have to act. We don't have a choice. But there is a wider picture too. There's a number of things that transport's expected to help out with: cutting air pollution, tackling fuel security. And these are issues that if we decarbonize, we will also tackle some of those other issues. And so that's great. We get a double impact from tackling our carbon emissions. But there's an even wider picture. Because transport can contribute to, for example, denser, lower carbon cities, because it helps people move around efficiently, it helps to shape the cities that we live in, we can actually contribute to a lower carbon urban environment more generally. Because transport takes energy from the energy networks, because it's a big source of demand for energy. By taking lower carbon energy from the energy systems, transport can actually drive change within the energy systems. As one of the energy system's biggest customers, transport can drive change beyond its own footprint. So when we look at those aspects, transport actually can impact about 2/3 of carbon emissions globally. And that's why we have an opportunity to act, a need to act, not just because of our own industry, but because of our wider footprint, our wider knock-on impact on other aspects of the carbon agenda. Overall, there's three broad elements to how we think we need to tackle our carbon emissions in transport. Firstly, we've got to move away from targets, visions, pie charts. It's about practical action. How do we get from A to B? Implementation plans. Yes, targets are crucial. Having a clear strategy is key, but now is the time to move into action and implementation. Secondly, we have to embrace uncertainty. There's a huge amount of change going on in the industry, not just in terms of carbon, but beyond. And we don't have all the answers. No one has all the answers. So how do we build in flexibility, modularity, almost designing for uncertainty, designing assets that are able to change over time and that incorporate the idea of uncertainty within them? And finally, we need to bring a truly interdisciplinary approach. No longer can transport exist in silos, which to some extent it has for many decades. The rail industry sticking on its own, the highways industry often on its own. What we need is a truly interdisciplinary approach across our energy experts, our transport experts, our cities and planning experts, and funding and finance, with new green finance options coming in. Unfortunately, there isn't a silver bullet to decarbonize the transport industry. There isn't one thing that we can do that's going to solve the problem. There are a number of different areas where we need to act, and by putting those bits together, that's how we'll decarbonize the industry. So the first thing we need to do is to give people low carbon choices. We've got to start with the user, not with the network, and enable people to do what increasingly they want to do, which is to travel on low carbon mobility options. So that includes high quality walking and cycling infrastructure, and we're doing hugely more work in this area, an explosion of opportunity around the world to really deliver a significant improvement in walking and cycling plans, even in cities that maybe previously people thought weren't very walkable. We recently did a fantastic walking plan for Singapore. Secondly, we need to continue to create high quality public transport options, since per kilometer, public transport is almost always lower carbon than the car. Thirdly, we need to harness new mobility solutions. For example, we're working on trackless trams. There's a whole series of new options, new technologies coming forward, all of which we can harness to deliver options to our users in cities and beyond. Fourthly, if you need a car, it should be a green vehicle. How do we create the infrastructure to support that? And indeed, if people don't need to or want to travel, we should be supporting those decisions as well. And that's where the links between our transport professionals and cities become so important. How do we build those links between planning and transport to enable also the choice to not move if people don't want to? And underpinning all of this is data. We have to understand how people want to move, where are they going. We're doing a lot of work in agent-based modeling in countries around the world, which helps us to really design for the user, not for what we maybe think somebody might want to do or design for the network.